How can you chat advise something like this? Introducing iPhone Air Apple, iPhone Air Apple, iPhone Air Apple. What is the fuck? What? I don't even understand what the joke is here. Oh, is this the? Oh, it doesn't have the. Oh my god! I just realized the Korean one doesn't have this because this is seen as like a slur. The pinch in Korea is considered anti-male. Oh my god, that's crazy. The pinch in Korea is considered like a anti-male hand signal. To say that you have a small wee wee is considered like a slur. They need to, dude. Korea needs to, first of all, abolish mandatory conscription, okay, or at least like make it so that women also have to serve. I don't know, one or the other. Probably abolishing mandatory conscription. Like you should probably stop that, and then also no more U.S. military troop presence. Move towards unification. Just like this is crazy. It's getting out of hand, man. I mean, I know people get mad at me for saying this, but I feel like you got to get the U.S. out of there. You got to start working on, I don't know, tackling some of these material problems that are taking place. Oh, abolish K-pop next. I mean, K-pop can stay. It's fine. Whatever. It's just artistic expression. It's just explain the pinch. How do I start? The gender wars are incredibly polarizing in South Korea. Many youth in South Korea call their country, literally, they call it hell. Okay? Like the common way to talk about South Korea, especially amongst the youth, is that they're living in hell. Okay? Hell Joseon. And basically, there's a lot of misogyny. A lot of misogyny in South Korea, unfortunately. And I think some of that comes from material inequities paired up with this incredible work, this incredibly demanding work structure where you're spending most of your life aggressively studying for entrance exams to get to some high level, to get to the best possible educational institutions, only to then get to the, one of the three companies that basically run the country, to have a shit ass job where you basically work yourself to the goddamn bone. And that is if you're lucky, because one of five companies owned by basically two families or three families are responsible for the entirety of the Korean economy. And in that neoliberal hellish nightmare, you also then have to serve in the Korean army. And I think a lot of people's brains get bricked in that process. And they're looking for a reason as to why they have so much pain and so much anger and resentment. So they basically take it out on women. They just suspect that it's the women that are responsible for all the pain and torment that they experience. There's also just a lot of unexamined misogyny as well from the patriarchal constructs that both exist in the United States of America, but maybe highlighted a little bit further. The expectation is that women also have to do all of these things, but then simultaneously take care of their family and the family of the men. Anyway, in this endless back and forth nightmare, the gender wars have been really. Gender wars have been extra highlighted, and basically the men's rights movement there is pretty poppin'. Like we kind of laugh at the incels here, and they laugh at the incels there too. But the incels there are kind of right policy sometimes, and one of those things was I think like women or just people that want to make fun of like South Korean incels started saying like you have a small penis and did this like this pinch emoji, and they were able to successfully make that a slur. They were the men's rights movement was able to basically make this pinch emoji that implies that you have a small penis, like you have small dick energy, into a hate symbol, which is why in that image that we just looked at, the Japanese and Chinese version does not features the pinch emoji, like the two fingers holding the iPhone Air, but in South Korea, it does not. And before someone says like, well, plus there's existing stereotype for Asian men. Yeah, except it's Asian women. Like it's Korean women that started the pinch thing. It wasn't, I don't think it was like Westerners. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like I get it, but it's not like this is an internal thing. This is like a South Korean thing, right? Yeah, the 100 Thieves emote had to be changed in League of Legends base. There's been a couple different like high profile incidents like that. But yeah, recently, which Korean president did that? The one after the one or before the rioting back earlier this year? If they sign it, well, the one that where the rioting was taking place is literally like an incel president. He was a men's rights guy. He's also apparently a wife guy, which is strange. But he was like, he literally was the incel president. Like he ran on, what is it, like abolishing the Department of Gender or something? Like there's just so much. I don't want to get into it any further than I already have. I think South Korea is a wonderful country. It's just been so aggressively destroyed by first Japanese imperialism and then American imperialism. It feels terrible. And it's just one of the most like fucked over countries on the planet. But because they have K-pop and LG and Samsung and Hyundai, people are like, no, everything is great. Look at DPRK. It's so much worse. And it's like, yeah, it's to varying degrees of fucked. Korea has been destroyed and fucked over to different degrees, basically. Yeah, it is unfortunately a capitalist dystopia, maxed out. Like U.S. is Wonderland? No, it's not. I think if you were to spend any time in this broadcast, you would recognize that the United States is certainly not a wonderland either. But there's varying degrees of hell that people experience in these different countries. And I think like South Korea is basically the future of America. That's why I say it's kind of like, we'll have the flashy things. We have the flashy things. We have our treats. Have you visited South Korea? No, but I plan to. But also, I will say like it's a wild set of circumstances because it's like even the most like centrist kind of progressive liberal instantly is like considered a communist by the right-wing South Koreans. It's crazy. And they have the American brain rot. Like right-wing South Koreans have crazy American brain rot, dude. It is nutty. They'll be like, oh, you're pro North Korea, you're communist, you need to literally be thrown in jail. I mean, the guy, the previous president straight up tried to do a fake coup, and they were going to do it through, they were going to facilitate this fake coup through the idea that like North Korean infiltrators had actually taken over the country or something. So, they did fight it off. And I think part of that is because they have, part of that stems from the fact that, Koreans know what it looks like when they're under the control of a military dictatorship. It's not that long ago in their history where they directly were. They fought hard to even advance towards this capitalist nightmare pseudo-democratic process that they currently have. So, they're very sensitive to that sort of thing. So that's part of the reason why they were able to successfully thwart this coup attempt. Even the libs out there think vax is bad. Oh, yeah. We have just, let's be honest, it's not a democracy, bro. I mean, it's, cults are a huge problem in Korea too. Oh, that's another issue as well. Yeah, it's a big problem in Japan too. It's a big problem wherever the Americans have any sort of control over the governance. The more I learn about like Japanese cults and South Korean cults, the more I understand why China is so aggressive with their approach to any sort of anyone that comes out and has like anyone that comes out and has any sort of tendency in that direction. They're like, no, we're not doing that. What has the U.S. got to do with cult formation? It's not necessarily just the United States, but I think it's it is it's just a thing that has happened historically in a lot of these countries, and the ones that are, but still cults are less harmful than Christian. Well, excuse me, but I think if we're talking about South Korea, there is a very famous Christian one too. So what do you mean? Yeah. As a matter of fact, here's another like blowback style situation, but like the Unification Church is, you know, partially or almost directly responsible for the Shinzo Abe assassination. It's a Korean cult that like made its way to Japan as well, and it may or may not have had a direct connection with the KCIA and the CIA in general. And it's like one of those ways in which you know, America has played a role in funding some of these cults. Okay, so that one, for example, is like, you know, it's direct American involvement, or at least like indirect American involvement. And as far as blowback goes, off branches of the Moonies have actually basically gained foothold in American in domestic affairs as well. And what I mean by that is, you remember the church where they like fuck their guns, where they marry their guns? That's a different branch of the Moonies, basically. You know the gun church where they have sex with their guns? Rod of Iron Ministries. I mean, you should know. I talk about it all the time, but that's like a fucking American Rod of Iron Branch Ministries. This one, currently shortened as the Sanctuary Church, originally known as World Peace and Unification Sanctuary Church, is a schismatic offshoot of the Unification Church established by Hyungjin Sean Moon and Kookjin Justin Moon. Both of them are sons of Sun Myung Moon and Hakja Han. Their father was the founder of the Unification Church and his leader until his death in 2012. The group exalts the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle in its ceremonies, believing it represents the rod of iron mentioned in the book of Revelation. Proudly, I didn't know about this. Also, here, I mean, I'm going to blow your fucking mind, but sushi in the United States of America was almost entirely dominated by the Moonies. The Moonies are responsible for sushi in the United States of America. They brought sushi to the United States of America, and not only do they bring sushi to the United States of America, I think they still have almost like monopolistic control over all the distribution of the fish that people use at sushi restaurants, I think, or one or the other. They have like still a tremendous amount of control over the distribution of sushi grade fish. 80% at one point, not sure anymore. Yeah, this is the cult that we're talking about. This is an offshoot of the Moonies, offshoot of the Unification Church, which the American CIA had full knowledge over. I mean, the guy that we're talking about, his father literally came and spoke to Ronald Reagan, delivered a speech, like all this shit. The KCIA played a role in this, and it's not an accident that they end up operating within South Korea and also within Japan as well, in spite of the fact that the Japanese are unimaginably racist towards Koreans in general. And that's part of the reason why after Shinzo Abe was assassinated, the assassin's wishes were actually met, because the public was like, why the fuck do we have a Korean church operating in our boundaries, stealing money from our Japanese, our big, beautiful, my favorite Muslim propaganda farmer? Yeah, this is propaganda, just an accurate reflection of events. Things that you didn't know about prior to coming to this broadcast that you found out about, that's propaganda. Yeah, if you're fucking stupid, I guess it is. Yeah, Muslim propaganda at that. Christian cults over the world are nearly all CIA's fault. The CIA is directly responsible for evangelicals dominating South America too. There were some thriving left-wing Catholic moves before them spreading there. Yes, the CIA will use anyone and everyone to destabilize. But yeah, inshallah, one day you will also say the Shahada and join. If you hate America so much, why don't you go and live in another country? That's cool. Hassan, this dude stayed in China for 14 days, streamed 12 days, 15 hours a day, and we still can't figure out a sexual orientation. That's so funny. But yeah. Where was I? Speaking of which, this is this is the other dangerous side of Chad Vice, the sadder side of Chad Vice. These are the people that need the Chad Vice the most, but they're probably not going to get it because they don't come in here. The Andrew Tates of the world, I talked about this briefly yesterday. Before I get into the news, I'm going to briefly bring this back up. Andrew Tate says, let me make this loud and clear. If you're a straight man with a girlfriend in 2024, you're gay. Lots of people, for good reason, baffled by this, but I watched Nick Fuentes explain why they all say this now, and it's because they think modern dating practices are feminine and think that women should submit to marriage almost immediately as a proxy argument for trad wifery. I don't think that is like, I don't think that that's the case. I mean, that's part of it, but I also think that the initial assessment of these guys are preying on the vulnerable youth, the vulnerable and insecure young men, in an effort to string them along and basically force them into alienation from every other person in their lives until the only reliable source of news and community comes from the men's rights spaces that they operate in. That is what their goal is. It is, ironically enough, it is not dissimilar to the cults that we were talking about beforehand. It's the same as like identify predatory people, identify vulnerable members of the community, and they work tirelessly to separate them from their friends and family, and they constantly feed them a bunch of nonsense and tell them like the only way that you can actually win favors, or the only way that you can achieve your goals, is if you actually succeed within this community. And slowly but surely they isolate them further and further from normal people. And then the less normal these guys become, their sense of normalcy comes from operating within these communities. And the community has its own internalized metrics of success. And, the communities itself have their own internalized success metrics, and people just like operate within those confines. And ironically enough, they move further and further away from normalcy in that process. And it makes it virtually impossible for them to ever have a healthy attitude about interpersonal relationship and communications ever again. And it makes it really difficult. It makes it really difficult to snap them out of it the further they go down that rabbit hole. Anyway, did something happen in South Korea? Not anything, like nothing new. Oh yeah, the Bradley Martin is full tilt, getting radicalized, and is like hanging out with Nick Fuentes. Is devastating situation. Directly a consequence of Israel shit, by the way. Like, I watched it unfold in real time. I watched it unfold in fucking real time. Let that be a lesson for all of you. Let that be a lesson for all of you. Pro-Trump guy thinks Donald Trump is sincerely going to end all wars, realizes that Donald Trump is deeply invested in Israel, and starts going, what the fuck's going on here? Like, these guys are, maybe these guys are not so wrong about what they're saying about Israel. And then they move on from Israel to, maybe these guys are not so wrong about what they're saying about Jews in general. Pair that up with the notion that, this environment of censorship, this environment of enforced censorship is actually at the behest of Jews, right? Which, again, is not my assessment, but it is the way that a lot of these traditional media outlets basically communicate the exact same thing that fucking Nick Fuentes is communicating when they say Israel is for the Jews and all Jews love Israel. And if you speak out against Israel, you're anti-Semitic. And if you're anti-Semitic, you must be censored and you must be fucking cast aside. And people basically put those puzzle pieces together. And of course, at the end of that is, being open-minded towards whatever the fuck rabid anti-Semites are saying, open neo-Nazis are saying. Also proves your point that this kind of bigotry and racism is more attractive to right-leaning people than your anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist message. No, I think that if you're an anti-imperialist and an anti-Zionist, and you are fighting hard to communicate this message to people, and your worldview revolves around materialist analysis, it is always going to be an uphill struggle in a country like the United States of America. Okay? because everything. Why do you keep giving Bradley charitability when he keeps doing things like this? I think you're completely unable to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. There is no like making an assessment of someone, doing analysis on someone's like pinpointing their radicalization in real time is not like I don't know. I just don't understand why you think that that's like being charitable. You have to stop doing this. This is so stupid. This is not about charitability at all. This is just a straightforward analysis of how people end up finding themselves in Nick Fuentes' worldview. I don't think they're serious, though. I don't know. No, I think that there are a lot of people who are serious about that, where they just like they don't understand that you can engage in analysis, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that you're endorsing people. Everybody does that. Actually, it's a like I said, it's filter. It's a filter for a lot of people who are not invested in serious thinking or critical analysis whatsoever.